What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC 252. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Draftkings MMA picks video. This time we are breaking down UFC 52, and what a card we have here. I waited a little bit to put this video out because, of course, there was a new fight added earlier in the week, and I wanted to make sure I had the salaries and all that and had time to go over it a little bit. And also because, a lot has changed, in the past couple cards later, towards the end of the week. So I wanted to wait a little bit, see how it all played out, but ready to go here. Just a couple announcements here. I am doing a contest. A lot of you guys have already commented on my other video, but same thing here. First, like the video. Next, subscribe if you haven't yet. Third, leave your DraftKings username. And then I'm doing a 100-person contest, $25 the first. It's free to enter. Just comment your DraftKings name and I'll get you in there. I think like 40 people are in it right now, something like that. And I'm going to allow the first 100 people to get into that as well. So 25 to first, nothing crazy. Just something to say thanks for all the support out there. And just, quickly, getting into last week. Last week was a pretty weird week. Didn't have enough Tucker. Tucker was one of my low-owned slate-breaking plays that I put in my article, and I only had like 15, 16%. I probably should have added more. Andrew Sanchez went out there and, knocked out Turman. I was really not expecting that whatsoever. Had, I think, like 20% Sanchez, but again, didn't have enough Sanchez. So a lot of these low-owned plays absolutely killed it last week. But, getting into this week, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward week. There's a lot of plays that, I really want to attack, a lot of fights I want to attack as well. And we're going to get into that right now. Before we get started, if you guys can like the video, subscribe if you haven't yet, would really appreciate that a ton. But first, I want to get into the fights to target. And by the way, in the near future, I'm going to be doing kind of like a live stream for my DraftKings picks. Just something a little more exciting. I know, slideshows can get a little boring, so I want to do something a little more interactive. So expect that in the near future. Comment below if you think that's a good idea to have like a live stream, like a 45-minute, 50-minute DraftKings show, just going over my favorite plays and all that, and getting into a little bit more detail than these little slideshows here that I've been doing. So first, we're going to look at the fight doesn't go to decision lines, and there are 4 that really stick out. And then anything after this is like around like minus 110, minus 120. But these are the ones that really stick out to me. So Burns and Pineda, minus 425. Fight doesn't go to decision. Burns has finished his last 2 fights very early in the UFC. And Pineda has won all 26 of his wins inside the distance. So it's pretty much safe to say this is going to end inside the distance. And we're going to want both sides. My lean is definitely Burns, and we'll get into that in a second. Parker Daukaus, weird fight. Both these guys are very, very low level heavyweights. Minus 325. Fight doesn't go to decision. I can see this either finishing early or being a very sloppy, one of those sloppy heavyweight fights that don't score all that well. But we'll get into it a little bit more. But yeah, this is a fight I do want to target. It was supposed to be first fight of the night, which I would have loved even more, but now it's the second fight of the night. So I'm going to have a decent amount of ownership, but just beware because it could be one of those really sloppy fights. Rozenstruik Dos Santos, minus 280. Fight doesn't go to decision. Rozenstruik just got knocked out by Ngannou. Dos Santos just got knocked out by Blades and Ngannou as well. And this is a heavyweight fight. Both these guys are going to come in, especially with a small cage. It's going to lead to more action. And, Rozenstruik throws some bombs. So I do think this is, probably going to end inside the distance. Or even Dos Santos winning a decision. I can see that as well. But definitely a fight I want to target because it is in that 8,400, 7,800 range. So the winner, if they get a knockout, could be optimal. And then Cormier, Miocic, this is a fight I'm going to be 100% on. No questions asked. 8,000 for DC and 8,200 for Stipe there. I'm going to be playing both sides. I can see DC winning a decision. I can see either guy finishing this fight at any point. But this is a fight I'm going to want to have, especially in that 8,000, 8,200 range. I'm going 100%. Tell you guys about that right now. So getting into the core plays here. This one is, fairly obvious. Merab Dvalishvili, he scored 175 his last fight. And, in this fight, he's now like a minus 250 favorite, which is, one of the biggest favorites on the card. And he's 8,700. And you got to add in, the DraftKings potential as well. So I think he's easily, the best play on the slate, 8,700. And I'm going to have a lot of them. And I do think he gets takedowns against Dawson. Dawson has pretty good takedown defense, really good get-up game. And, Merab doesn't have the best, top control. So I can see him taking down Dawson getting back up, and him just mat returning him, grinding against the cage. And yeah, I mean, anytime Rob fights, we always got to target him on DraftKings. I mean, there's a chance that Dodson's able to, stuff some takedowns, have some success on the feet. But I do like Merab to win quite a bit. I'd give, Dodson more of a chance if he threw more volume, but that's just not something he does. And Merab has a very good chin on him, never been finished. And Dodson has some power. His path to victory is probably a knockout. So maybe a couple Dodson lineups, but man, I'm going to target Merab heavily, and hopefully he comes out here and does what he does. He's just a DraftKings scorer, and a couple of his losses, he scored like 70 points each. So, Merab's definitely somebody I want to target here, 8,700. Herbert Burns, 8,900, another play I love. This guy has been coming out here and getting it done, and I do see this fight ending inside the distance. What was it, like minus 400 something to end inside the distance? So it's safe to say this fight's going to finish. And Burns has a really good ground game. He's improved his striking quite a bit. I think he gets it done. I think he gets it done early as well. So 8,900 is something I really like there for Burns. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, 8,400. I'm going to get a lot of hate on this pick because it seems like the whole world is on JDS. I'm surprised that the line's closing in, but I'm surprised JDS isn't the favorite since everybody's on him. But I like Rozenstruik a lot in this fight. And JDS is, 36 years old. He doesn't have the best chin whatsoever. I have to give the power advantage to Rozenstruik. I have to give the durability advantage to Rozenstruik. There's just a lot of recency bias, Rozenstruik, we just saw him get knocked out by Francis Ngannou, but we can't look at that too much. Obviously, it's Francis Ngannou. Rozenstruik's still a very durable guy, but I do like Rozenstruik to win this fight, 8,400. It's just Dos Santos leaves so many openings, in there. In the smaller cage, I do feel like it favors Rozenstruik, and a lot of people can argue it's going to favor the wrestler in Dos Santos, but that's just not something he does. He doesn't go in there and wrestle. He has 2 takedowns since 2012, 8 years, 2 takedowns. He didn't come into the Francis Ngannou fight with a takedown-heavy game plan like he probably should have, and I don't think he will in this fight as well. And, in that smaller cage, it's going to give, Rozenstruik a lot more opportunities to land a clean shot, and I think it does. I think he knocks him out. But, a lot of people are going to go against me on that and play some Dos Santos, and I don't hate that as well. It's a heavyweight fight. Really, anything can happen. Dos Santos maybe is able to stick on the outside, but I just feel like that's going to be a little bit harder in that smaller cage. And then Daniel Cormier, 8,000. He's the favorite, Vegas-wise, but underdog on DraftKings. I like that quite a bit. I mean, he scored, 90 in a loss his last fight. He knocked out Stipe, the fight before that. And I just think it's a fantastic play here. Obviously, I'm playing both sides. I'm playing some Stipe as well, but DC at 8,000 I love. He's a core play of mine. Basically, both Stipe and DC are core plays of mine, but I just like DC a little bit more. I'm probably going to be like 55-45 or even 60-40 in DC's favor there, so he is a core play. Oh, and as for stacking for cash, pretty much a no-brainer this week. We saw, last time their fight, they combined for 304 significant strikes. So pretty much a no-brainer. Stack for cash. It would be pretty silly not to stack in cash this week. GPP plays. Sean O'Malley, 9,200. This play is a little weird. He's going to be pretty high owned. Everybody likes Sean O'Malley. I mean, I like Sean O'Malley myself. The ownership, kind of worries me a little bit. And another thing that worries me is, Vera's never been finished. Vera has a very, very good chin. And, Sean O'Malley's very untested. So, Vera's going to, challenge him a lot in this fight, especially in the second and third round. If this gets out of the second and third round, it's going to be a very close fight, I think. But with the output O'Malley has, with the knockout ability O'Malley has, I think he's a pretty good play at 9,200. Although I don't see him knocking out Vera. I think that, with the volume alone, maybe he gets a knockdown in the first round. I think he could hit value, but I don't know about the upside there because Vera is very tough. But, I'm going to play some O'Malley for sure. Stipe Miocic, 8,200. Talked about it a little bit. Definitely playing some of him. I think he's a great play as long as he, I can see something happening like last fight, weathering the early storm of DC. And if DC's cardio is really done, then yeah, he can win in those later rounds. And obviously he's going to put up a huge score, especially 8,200. So I'm going to have Stipe. I like DC a little bit more, but I'm definitely playing Stipe, no question about that. So TJ Brown, 8,800. So he scored 60, 70 points in a loss to Jordan Griffin where he got submitted in the second round. So he absolutely dominated Jordan Griffin. He is very capable of getting takedowns. He has a very good ground game. The question for Brown is his durability. He's been finished 5 or 6 times. He's pretty chinny. I've seen him dropped a ton. And he's going against a pretty hard hitter in Chavez. So I like TJ Brown for the upside. I'm not going to go overly heavy on it because I do think there's a chance that Chavez maybe even submits him on the ground. Brown does make some mistakes or maybe knocks him out. So I think Brown's a very high upside play. I think he's going to be, pretty high owned since he's up there with Burns. Burns is going to be very high owned. He's up there with Sean O'Malley. O'Malley's going to be pretty high owned. So I do like Brown for that reason. I think he has, some extreme upside, but just beware. He is chinny. He does make some mistakes on the mat there. Parker Porter, 8,500. I mean, I'm going the other way in this fight with Dawkins, but I mean, it's a heavyweight fight. He's a more experienced guy. He has the better cardio, and if he gets a knockout, he could definitely get on the optimal lineup. I don't know, what the ownership's going to be for Porter or Dawkins. I mean, this is a weird fight. I don't know how people are going to attack this. I wasn't able to get my ownership projections done yet. I'm going to work on that tomorrow, sometime in the morning, but. Yeah, Porter, 8,500. If he gets that knockout, maybe it's optimal. Maybe it's an early finish as well, but maybe it's just a sloppy heavyweight fight that, scores really low. So I don't know. I'm going to play a decent amount of this fight because it is in that mid-range there, and it does have potential to score high. Jim Miller, 8,300. I actually like this play quite a bit. Jim Miller has a ton of upside, and he's going to be, lower owned because actually, he's the underdog. He's the underdog at 8,300. People are going to see that and jump all over Pichel, and I see a lot of people on Pichel this week as well. So I think that's going to really lower that ownership of Jim Miller, and he's a very dangerous guy, especially in that first round. If he wins, it's probably in that first round as well. So I do like that. I do see, a situation where he can possibly take down Pichel, or maybe Pichel takes him down, and Miller can find something on the ground. But even on the feet, Miller's no slouch on the feet as well. He's dangerous, pretty much everywhere the fight goes. I think this is going to be a war, possibly fight of the night. And I don't know, I feel like it scores well either way. So I do like Jim Miller at 8,300. Getting into the live dogs here, Junior Dos Santos. This is going to be a very popular option. Like I said, it seems like the whole world is on Junior Dos Santos, and I can see why. I mean, on paper, and just looking at the matchup without really digging into any tape, yeah, like Dos Santos looks like the obvious play, but just really digging into the tape, he leaves so many openings, and in the smaller cage, I just feel like Rozenstruik's going to hit him at some point, and I really question the durability of Dos Santos. Just got knocked out by Curtis Blades. He's been knocked out 5 times in his career, but if his chin holds up, yeah, I think he can, pick apart Rozenstruik. I don't really see him knocking out Rozenstruik. But maybe he does. I don't know. It's heavyweight, but I don't know. He looks in really good shape on Instagram. Everybody's talking about that. I don't know. Maybe he takes down Rozenstruik. I don't really see it happening, but maybe he does. If he does, first of all, I think that would be smart, but that's just not something he does. But if he does, all power to him. I think that'll be a great game plan to come in there. And if he does, maybe he gets some ground and pound, maybe even a submission. But yeah, 7,800. I'm gonna play it, but I will have more Rozenstruik. And honestly, I'm going to be pretty high on this fight as a whole, with a decent sized lean on Rozenstruik. Hopefully, all the Dos Santos love really, takes away the ownership from Rozenstruik, because I do see him knocking out Dos Santos here. But, Dos Santos is live. He's a legend, getting up there in age, but he can still get it done. Christopher Dawkins, 7,700. I mean, I'm picking him to win. Very ugly heavyweight fight, but he has the power advantage. He has the speed advantage. I think he's the better fighter all around. And he's the underdog at 7,700. I think the fight's going to close, towards a pick'em, or even Dawkins as a slight favorite. So getting some line value there. And yeah, if he wins, it's probably in the first round as well. So I'm going to have a solid amount of Dawkins here. I think he's very live. Wasn't too impressed with Porter whatsoever. I think Dawkins is the better fighter. Danny Chavez, 7,400. Touched on a little bit, but Brown makes a ton of mistakes. He's very chinny. He's been finished a ton of times, and Chavez has finished 3 of his last fights. He doesn't look awful. But man, I think Chavez has an opportunity to finish this fight for sure. And I do see this fight finishing one way or another. But, Chavez is very live. He's very live for a win, whether it is a knockout, maybe even a submission. Maybe Brown makes a mistake on the ground. So 7,400 is something I'm really looking at there. Probably one of my favorite underdogs to target with the upside, although I'm not picking him to win because I do think Brown can use his wrestling and his grappling. But I think he's really live for a finish. And if he wins, I don't necessarily see him winning a decision. I see him winning with a finish. So that's just something to look at there. Vince Pichel, 7,900. He's the favorite at 7,900. When he wins, he scores well. I don't know. I have a feeling this fight, could definitely be on the optimal lineup. But when he wins, like I said, Jim Miller has been finished, quite a bit. And if he does get finished, it's probably going to be those later rounds. So by then, Pichel maybe racks up a lot of significant strikes, some takedowns, if he wants to go to the ground with Miller. But yeah, Pichel's a fine play at 7,900. I'm going to play both sides of this fight, though. And then Tony Kelly, this fight just got added. Was able to, do a little more, tape study on this fight. And, really curious as to why they made Tony Kelly 7,300 here. Obviously, Kamaka opened up as a minus 200 something favorite, but the line, closed very quickly. And Kamaka should not be that big of a favorite. I think this fight's going to play out very close. And, Kelly has finished 80% of his fights. He looks like a very exciting fighter in there. Has good wrestling, good power. And I don't know, if he wins, I think it could be optimal. And by the way, this is the first fight of the night. And you guys know how I feel about that. And especially since nobody's going to know who these guys are. Tony Kelly, Kamaka. Nobody knows who these guys are. It's going to be very low owned. It's the first fight of the night. People are scared to play the first fight of the night. I'm not. So I kind of want to target some Tony Kelly at 7,300. Not going to go overly owned on it. Maybe like 20%, 25%, if that. But, just in case he does get a win. If he does get the win, maybe it's by finish. Maybe it's by decision. Even if it's by decision, I think he scores well. He has the more output. Pretty solid wrestling. What I am worried about is Kamaka taking him down and just holding him there, which is what I've seen in a lot of Kamaka fights. But, yeah, Kelly's very live. I think he is probably the better fighter overall, but he is getting up there in age. He's going to be the older fighter. I think he's going to be about 8 years older than Kamaka. But, yeah, Kelly I think is a fine, kind of underdog option there. All right, punt plays. Marlon Vera, 7,000. And this fight's going to be played out a lot closer than, the price indicates. I think this should be lined a lot closer. Vera is no slouch whatsoever. He has never been finished. And, I think this is going to be, Vera's going to make this a tough fight for O'Malley. I think O'Malley is going to for sure win that first round. And I am picking O'Malley to win because I think he has the striking advantage, and I think that's where it's going to play out. But if Vera is able to get this in the clinch, get this in the ground, we're really going to see what O'Malley's made of, and I think this is going to be an absolute war. So 7,000, there's tons of upside there. I'm going to have a pretty decent amount of Marlon Vera because I do think he can win. I do think it's very possible, and I think it's going to be a very close fight. So I think it's worth a shot. As for cash, I'm also looking at Vera in cash, and a lot of people might disagree because they think O'Malley's going to get a first round knock on him, and maybe he does. But Vera's very, very durable. So I do like Vera as a nice pump play there. Not necessarily pick him to win, but I think he for sure has a chance to win. And then fades. Just wanted to touch on this a little bit. Kai Kamaka, 8,100. They opened him up, at the 8,100 range on DraftKings. 8,100. You could also get Herbert Burns. You can go up and get O'Malley. You can get Brown. Just don't really see a reason to play Kamaka. It's the first fight of the night, which I do like targeting, but he hasn't finished anybody. I think he has one submission on his record. Other than that, it's all decisions, and he's not going to finish Kelly. Kelly's a very tough guy, very, very durable. And, Kamaka's very low output as well. I've seen him in his fights get a takedown and spend 4 minutes on top and land no strikes, get no advances. I've seen him get maybe one advance in his one of the fights I watched, and 4 takedowns. That's not going to score anything at 8,100. So don't think the upside's there for Kamaka. If you want a a low-owned target, I guess maybe, but I just don't see him finishing or even throwing enough volume to be optimal in any type of way. So Kamaka's probably going to be a full fade for me, maybe 5%. I would rather definitely play Kelly at 7,300. Just want to remind you guys, you can become a member of my Patreon and receive full access to my model, my premium projections, GPP lineup percentages, premium breakdown and strategy video, which will be up Friday night, my DraftKings article as well. And, a lot of you guys have been signing up, so thank you guys for that. It helps me out a ton. But, make sure you guys check out my live stream tomorrow night on Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Going to be going over final thoughts on the weigh-ins, which I do really want to see for this card, and some other things, betting, DraftKings, all that good stuff. Come in, hang out, ask questions. That's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. Really helps me out a lot. And subscribe if you haven't yet. Working my way up to 6,000 subscribers. Any subscribe helps. And, good luck, guys. And let's make some money at UFC 252.